Hello ICQK! Welcome to the second episode in our time management series. If you haven't already guessed by the British accent, my name is Penny and I'm your MCVP of Talent Management. As your MCVP, I'm constantly managing various projects to help to develop the ICQK membership and working in synergy with other sectors. There's always so much to do and it's super important for me to be able to prioritise in my role. And one thing that has really helped me to do this so far is what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. You may have heard me talk about it before, but today I'm going to talk to you guys about the Eisenhower matrix. So actually, to give you guys some context, you may or may not know, but the Eisenhower matrix actually got its namesake from Dwight Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States, who prior to becoming president was actually the Supreme Commander for the Allied Forces during World War II. During his time in the army, however, Eisenhower was faced with many tough decisions concerning the tasks that he had to do on a daily basis. He had a quote which you guys may have heard of before. What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. With this belief, he went on to invent a principle that helps us to prioritize our tasks by urgency and importance. If you've read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you might remember that this matrix is introduced in Habit 3, to put things first, and it's actually designed to help you guys become more effective with your self-management. Here's how it works. The matrix forms a grid with 4 quadrants. I'm going to take you guys through each of the quadrants one by one. So firstly then, quadrant number 1. It contains tasks that are both urgent and important. These are do first tasks because they're most probably critical for your life or career in some way and need to be finished right away. You want to aim to get these tasks done as soon as possible. Example of these tasks should be your first focus, should be probably important tasks, and you should aim to get them done on the same day, such as, in your professional career, it could be something like answering a time-sensitive email, or proofreading something for your manager, or if you're still a university student, doing something that's most probably due the next day. For your personal life, this is probably if you have a crying child in the room, or some form of medical emergency, or even if you have food burning in the oven. The quadrant 1 tasks should be done to try and avoid negative consequences. It's important to be able to manage the tasks that are in this quadrant. So now we move on to quadrant number 2. The second quadrant describes tasks that are important, but not necessarily urgent. This is where you want to invest the majority of your time, because the quadrant 2 tasks are probably in line with your long-term goals. So, what are some examples of these tasks? Well, when it comes to your professional career, this probably includes some career planning, so thinking about where you're going to be in the next 5 years, or even filling out your passion planner for a day. It could be that you want to qualify yourself further and you want to take some courses. When it comes to your personal life, this extends to things like exercise, things that are important to your health, but you can decide when it can be done. It's also important to spend time with your family, but again, that can be aligned with your schedule. Therefore, these things are important, but do not need to be done immediately, and they're mainly used to build consistency in your routine. For the third quadrant, I actually have a question for you guys. Do you ever feel like you're putting too much importance on a task that in hindsight was probably not very important at all, or think that something has to be done right away, and it probably actually doesn't? If so, you're in very good company. This quadrant describes tasks that are not probably important, however do have a degree of urgency to them. It most commonly happens when someone asks you to do something that doesn't directly benefit you or get you closer to achieving your goals. In this case then, and for this quadrant, it's important to learn and remember how to delegate things. So think about what's urgent, what's probably less important, and how you can delegate to other people. When you think something's urgent, but it actually isn't, it's usually a source of outside distraction. This might include things like constantly checking your emails or responding to people straight away as soon as they try and contact you, answering phone calls that don't have anything to do with you. You may think it's urgent in the moment, so you stop what you're doing to attend to the matter, but in reality it could probably wait. For your personal life, this is probably checking your Facebook messages or checking your WhatsApp for messages from friends or family. If you're in the middle of a project and the phone rings, it's probably not important for you to answer it, so you can try and delegate this task to someone else. It may seem urgent at the time while it's happening, but these little things can be handled by other people to help you avoid distraction. So that's quadrant number 3. Quadrant number 4 is probably the hardest one to handle. It describes tasks which are neither important and not urgent. Honestly, if you want to avoid the quadrant 4 tasks, you should just simply delete them. These tasks are usually a waste of your time and they should be eliminated. Examples of quadrant 4 tasks are things that like watching TV or playing video games, or if you're in the library or if you're at work, just doing mindless web browsing. However, does that mean that quadrant 4 tasks shouldn't be a part of your life? No. Having a balance between your professional and personal life is important, and downtime helps you to regain energy. The trick here is to try and spend most of your time in quadrant 2 and just enough time in quadrant 4 to get by. If you're able to identify and eliminate all of your quadrant 4 tasks, you usually are able to balance and free time up for your quadrant 2 tasks, the ones that require more time over a longer period of time. So that's it then. We have one grid, 4 quadrants to help you prioritize your tasks with regards to importance and urgency. But how do you know if you really need it, or if it works for you? I'm sure that we all have these days with procrastination, especially now that the weather is nice and you just want to keep making iced coffees and being outside. So I have a tip for you guys on how you can use the matrix to see if you are procrastinating. To see if you're spending the bulk of your time in the first 2 quadrants, do a 1-week assessment. To do this, make 6 copies of a blank grid. Then, use 1 grid per day, listing the tasks you accomplished or the activities you did and the time spent on each things. Do this from Monday to Friday. With a final grid, grid number 6, when all of your 5 grids are full, combine the Friday to Monday data onto your 6th summary grid and calculate how much time you actually spent in each grid. Then break those numbers down into percentages. Evaluate how effectively you spent your time and whether your process actually probably needs to be reorganized. But why is this important then? Why is this grid important? Why is the time management important? We live in a very time-pressured world where you're likely to have multiple overlapping commitments and feel like they need to be done right away. This probably means that true urgency is not reserved for special instances, because urgent matters tend to become an everyday occurrence. You're never going to succeed in your career or education if you're constantly missing deadlines or letting truly urgent matters just sit on your desk. Instead, you have to learn how to manage your constant reception of responsibilities while still trying to do the excellent work. The Eisenhower matrix is just an effective method to use to organize your priorities. It's easy to spend the bulk of your time in quadrants 1 and 3, and very little time in quadrant 2. Quadrant 3 is popular because it makes you look and feel busy. However, in order to be productive and effective in the long term, quadrant 2 should be where you put your main focus. So try to live most of your life in the upper part of the matrix. Work on quadrant 1 to get by and use the rest of your time in quadrant 2. Use quadrants 3 and 4 only when necessary and when you need some downtime. To get rid of any possible distractions, turn off your phone and email, close your door, or even take a project to a remote area where no one can distract you. I hope this episode was useful to you. Let me know how you find it, and good luck with becoming a time management whiz. See you next time. Bye!